Here's my final thoughts. It has to do with the president's executive order on police reforms. Protesters shouldn't be so quick to dismiss what was announced today by President Trump from the Rose Garden. The president is calling for a national database of bad cops so they can't move from one department to another without detection. He calls for banning chokeholds unless the officer's life is in jeopardy. Emergency responders would accompany police on calls requiring mental health and drug-related expertise. And the president, he met with families who have lost relatives to police violence, and he promised justice would be served. He didn't address systematic racism or the code of silence in police departments. I think that was a mistake. He applauded good cops for their acts of bravery. I agree, and so do you. But let's recognize what's happening here, folks. The president's comments today were prompted by the massive protests after the killing of George Floyd. The Democratic House and Republican Senate were already working on police reform packages. Those protesters, though, have moved past police to Confederate monuments and military bases named after proponents of slavery. What we have here is a tipping point that has led to a long-needed conversation at the highest levels. Nobody wants to end up on the wrong side here. The protesters, though, they don't appear to be letting up, and let's hope the talks and the reforms don't let up. And that's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us for the Q&A, and please keep those questions coming this way. I'm Bruce Johnson. Have a good night, and remember to stay safe.